Today is April 15th, 2026, and this is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
And we are in the book of Job.
Right.
You just commented as we were preparing for this, Job is conquerable. Is that what you
I said unlockable.
Unlockable. And that's what we are trying to do for all of you here, is to know that Job is unlockable. It is super difficult.
It is, for sure.
Yeah. But the key, I think, of it is that both Job and his friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, have the same theology. Mm-hmm. They believe that God blesses the righteous and curses the wicked.
All the time.
All the time. So if Job's being cursed, well, he must have been wicked.
Right.
And Job has the same theology, but he's saying, hey, I'm not wicked. Why am I being... God, there's something problem with God, not with me.
Yeah.
And so that's like the basic issue kind of going on here.
And so then they go back and forth in these conversations. There's
Yep.
three friends, so one of them will speak, Job responds, and then one of the other friends responds, and then Job responds to that, and then the third friend speaks. So they go back and forth with about 3 or 4 rounds of that.
Yeah, 2.5 rounds is kind of what they do.
Okay.
So it's Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Mm-hmm. And at the end, they got this young man, Elihu, who's kind of sitting and listening to this whole conversation. So we heard
And
Eliphaz...
They even speak in that order.
Yes.
Right.
Eliphaz spoke first yesterday, and then Job replied. And Eliphaz is basically saying for the same thing, right? Can you be pure before God? You're suffering because you have done some sin. And basically Job says, no, I think I'm righteous. I've not denied the Holy One. And so now here we come, Bildad, and Bildad kind of cranks up the volume. Is kind of what he's doing.
He's a bit harsher than Eliphaz
Yep,
was.
but going right on what Eliphaz said. So here we go. Chapter 8 is Eliphaz, and then 9 and 10 are Job. And we'll just try to kind of help you think through what they're saying. And it's hard to understand in the details, but if you kind of read through the whole thing is not so difficult. Okay? Then Bildad, the Shuhite, answered and said, now Bildad is super certain, he's super confident, comes at this all logically. How long will you say these things, and the words of your mouth be a great wind? Okay, so one of the things you got to look for here is their insults towards each other, particularly when they start their talks. They can be pretty funny. Okay, but he just calls them windy words. And then here's the issue, right? Does God pervert justice, or does the Almighty pervert the right? Of course, if you sin, you are going to be punished for it. And then he's cruel here. Look at verse 4. If your children have sinned against him, he has delivered them into the hand of their transgression.
Like implying that's why Job's children died. Because they had sinned.
Yeah. If you will seek God and plead with the Almighty for mercy, and if you are pure and upright, surely then he will rouse himself for you and restore your rightful habitation. And there you just see the theology, right? If you're righteous, he's going to bless you. So if you rouse yourself well, he's going to bless you. And though your beginning was small, your latter days will be very great. And then he just looks at the wisdom of the ages. He says, it's your turn, verse 8.
For inquire, please, of bygone ages, and consider what the fathers have searched out. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, for our days on earth are a shadow. Will they not teach you and tell you and utter words out of their understanding?
We're just kind of sitting back with the fathers. The fathers have taught this. We need to think through the same things. Okay, and then he's going to talk about nature. Here's the wisdom of nature. Can papyrus grow where there's no marsh? Can reeds flourish where there's no water? While yet in flower, not cut down, they wither before any plant. Such are the paths of all who forget God. The hope of the godless perish. So those who forget God are like plants without any water. But that's not Job. No, at all. Verse 14, his confidence is severed and his trust is a spider's web. He leans against his house, but it does not stand. He lays hold of it, but it does not endure. He's a lush plant before the sun, and his shoots spread over his garden. His roots entwine the stone heap. He looks upon a house of stones. If he is destroyed from his place, then it will deny him, saying, I have never seen you. Behold, this is the joy of his way, and out of the soil others will spring.
Behold, God will not reject a blameless man, nor take the hand of evildoers.
And there's the core of the theology.
You're right.
He'll not reject a blameless man. However, from everything that we know of chapters 1 and 2, kind of God has done that.
Right.
So Bildad here is obviously wrong from what our standpoint, and we know, like, what was going on behind the scenes. They don't.
Right.
But we know just how wrong he is.
Verse 21, he will yet fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with shouting. Those who hate you will be clothed with shame, and the tent of the wicked will be no more.
Okay. And now we come to Job's response. And basically Job says, well, God is powerful. I can't even stand before him. Like, how can I argue my case before God is what he's going to say in chapter 9. Job answered and said, truly I know that it is so. Like, I agree with you. But how can a man be in the right before God? If one wished to contend with him, one could not answer him once in 1,000 times. Here's kind of a shadow of what's to come. This is the whole answer of the problem of suffering, is that God is big and great and he does as he wills. This is chapters 38 through 41.
Okay, verse 4. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Who has hardened himself against him and succeeded? He who removes mountains and they know it not, when he overturns them in his anger. And just look at how much God's power is spoken of here.
Yeah, and this is just like Job 38 through 41 when God says, okay, to Job, okay, gird yourself up like a man, you answer me. And Job even knows this. So right here, he's just going to speak of the greatness of God, and his argument is going to be, God has done this to me. I can't argue with him.
Right, he's too powerful.
Okay,
so I'm going to start at verse 5. He who removes mountains, and they know it not, when he overturns them in his anger, who shakes the earth out of its place and its pillars tremble, who commands the sun and it does not rise, who seals up the stars, who alone stretches out the heavens and trampled the waves of the sea, who made the Bear and Orion, so these are constellations, the Pleiades and the chambers of the south, who does great things beyond searching out and marvelous things beyond number. Behold, he passes by me, and I see him not. He moves on, but I do not perceive him. Behold, he snatches away. Who can turn him back? Who will say to him, what are you doing? Oh, that's like in Daniel.
It does sound like Daniel chapter 4. But it is, like, this is the core of understanding. Job is understanding rightly that all this is happening to him, and there's no way he can argue back to God. This is super helpful to understand in the midst of suffering that the sovereignty of God over suffering is super helpful. That's the answer to the book of Job.
Verse 13, God will not turn back his anger. Beneath him bowed the helpers of Rahab. How then can I answer him, choosing my words with him? Though I am in the right, I cannot answer him. I must appeal for mercy to my accuser.
Right, there it is. You're going to say this again in verse 20. Though I'm in the right, I can't respond. He's so big and so powerful. Yep.
Right, and he just says, well, I'm going to have to appeal for mercy.
Yeah.
That's all I've got. Verse 16, if I summoned him and he answered me, I would not believe that he was listening to my voice. For he crushes me with a tempest and multiplies my wounds without cause. He will not let me get my breath, but fills me with bitterness. If it is a contest of strength, behold, he is mighty. If it's a matter of justice, who can summon him? Though I am in the right, my own mouth would condemn me. Though I am blameless, he would prove me perverse.
Just the power of God to win every argument. And Job clearly understands that. Yep.
Verse 21, I am blameless. I regard not myself. I loathe my life.
He goes back to chapter 7. That's how he ended his talk yesterday.
Says this a lot.
And even in chapter 3, he just speaks about, I wish I was never born. He's going to go back there again. The suffering is so difficult for him. Yeah.
Verse 22, it is all one. Therefore I say, he destroys both the blameless and the wicked. When disaster brings sudden death, he mocks at the calamity of the innocent.
That's kind of what Job's slant on this whole matter is. He says, just God mocks at when the innocent suffer and get crushed.
The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of its judges. If it is not he, then who is it?
Verse 25, my days are swifter than a runner. They flee away. They see no good. They go by like skiffs of reed, like an eagle swooping on the prey. If I say, I will forget my complaint, I will put off my sad face and be of good cheer. I become afraid of all my suffering, for I know you will not hold me innocent. I shall be condemned. Why then do I labor in vain? If I wash myself with snow and cleanse my hands with lye, Yet you will plunge me into a pit, and my own clothes will abhor me. And then he just says here, like, I know my place, I know where I sit. Verse 32. For he is not a man as I am, that I might answer him, that we should come to trial together. There is no arbiter between us who might lay his hand on us both. And here, like, he's longing for someone to go between him and God.
Right.
Kind of a hint, wink, wink, about the Redeemer is going to come in Jesus, like how helpful Jesus is in helping us stand before the Father. Let him take his rod away from me, and let not the dread of him terrify me. Then I would speak without fear of him, for I am not so in myself. So verse 9, chapter 9 is really speaking about, hey, God is powerful. Like I can't even measure up in my correctness before him.
And not only can he not measure up, but verse 33, there's no arbiter between us.
Yep. Again, in chapter 10, we're going to see him kind of turning and then praying to God. And his friends are going to listen to how he's pleading and praying to God.
Okay, 10 verse 1. I loathe my life. I will give free utterance to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will say to God, do not condemn me. Let me know why you contend against me.
And there's the core, right? This is what he's arguing. He says, God, why? This is the problem of suffering. Why are you doing this?
That's what we like to ask too.
Yes,
why?
And I think it's appropriate for us to ask. Yes.
Verse 3, does it seem good to you to oppress, to despise the work of your hands and favor the designs of the wicked?
Like, are you getting joy out of my suffering, is what he's saying.
Have you the eyes of flesh? Do you see as man sees? Are your days as the days of man, or your years as man's years, that you seek out my iniquity and search for my sin, although you know that I am not guilty and there is none to deliver out of your hand? Your hands fashioned and made me, and now you have destroyed me altogether.
Right? In other words, verse 8, this makes no sense at all. Oh God, how does this help? Like,
God,
you made me and you've
me,
destroyed me? That doesn't make sense.
Verse 9, remember that you have made me like clay, and will you return me to the dust? Did you not pour me out like milk and curdle me like cheese? You clothed me with skin and flesh and knit me together with bones and sinews. You have granted me life and steadfast love, and your care has preserved my spirit. Yet these things you hid in your heart. I know that this was your purpose.
He's just confident. He knows that this has come from God's hand. And that's even in chapter 1. God is the one who afflicted him, and Job didn't sin with his mouth. Just says, naked I was born, naked I'll leave. He gives and takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. I know you have designed this. Yep.
Okay, verse 14. If I sin, you watch me and do not acquit me of my iniquity. If I am guilty, woe to me. If I am in the right, I cannot lift my head, for I am filled with disgrace and look on my affliction. And were my head lifted up, you would hunt me like a lion and work again work wonders against me. You renew your witness against me and increase your vexation toward me. You bring fresh troops against me.
And now he comes back to chapter 3 about wishing he was never born. Why did you bring me out from the womb? Would that I had died before any eye had seen me, and were as though I had not been carried from the womb to the grave. Are not my days few? Then cease, leave me alone, that I may finish a little cheer before I go, and I shall not return to the land of darkness and deep shadow, the land of gloom like thick darkness, like deep shadow, without any order, where light is as thick darkness. So what Job is really asking here, verse 2 is the key. I will say to God, let me know why you contend against me. Like, just tell me why. So he said in chapter 9 how big and powerful God is. You can't even answer him, but at least just explain what's going on. Please, why?
Right. I mean, in verse 1, also, he says, I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. That's really what he's doing.
Yeah, so you got to catch the suffering here. And so Bildad basically says, hey, of course, if I'm sins, they're going to suffer. Job says, well, I agree with that, but I can't even answer back to God, but I'm innocent, and why has God done this to me? Well, here's the problem of suffering, and this is conquerable. So stay with us. We're going to try to help you through this. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.